Hey. Oh, hey. So you sure you want to do this? I'm sure. You know it's cool if he does it, but if you... I know. Now, real gun dudes, I know. They're gonna comment. I know. They're gonna leave them thumbs down. I know. They're gonna...
Oh, che palle, I understand, but I'm European, okay? We think differently. Good day, folks. Welcome back to my channel, and as always, thank you so much for watching. As many of you know, I'm sure, recently Scott from Kentucky Ballistics honored us in a less lethal world with a less lethal video. He started out with the HDR50.
So we're going to start out with the HDR50.
And he even used the Devastators.
They call these the Devastators?
That was pretty cool, and it got some of us pretty excited because Scott, you may not know this, but for some of us, this is our bread and butter. So how can I return the kind thought, I thought? So I went to the supermarket and I bought all their eggplants. I completely cleaned them out from the vegetable section. Scott, you don't know me, but I know how much you hate eggplants. And quite frankly, so do I. So before jumping into this video, let me tell you really quick why I had to skip last week's video. My wife has family in the UK, in Cambridge, and she had planned a 2-week trip to take our baby to meet her whole family over there. And my plan was originally to stay in Miami and then kind of join them towards the end, the last 4 or 5 days of their trip, basically so I could help out on the flight back. It's a long flight during the day, so that was the whole plan, me to go there, spend a few days, and then fly back to help out with the flight, basically, with the baby. However, on the flight over there, both my wife and the baby caught COVID. And it got pretty bad. My daughter had to go to the hospital. She had really high fever. She wasn't hydrating, she was vomiting. So I had to take her to the hospital. Obviously, I was here in a complete panic. As a first-time father, that is not something very fun to live through. So I was fortunate enough, I was able to change my flight to anticipate it, and so I also flew to the UK just a few days after they arrived. And of course, I caught COVID as well. So it's been a couple of weeks of hell in the UK, where basically we were all sick with COVID, and that's that. But anyway, we're all doing much better now. We are finally back in Miami, landed day before yesterday, feeling pretty jet lagged. But nevertheless, we must keep on going, so let's film this video. So Scott, I thought that for you, we would eliminate as many eggplants as we can. And to do so, we'll be shooting these 3 high-powered CO2 paintball markers. They're all made by Umarex for a line called T4E, Training for Engagement. We'll start off with the HDR50, which you have seen in the Kentucky Ballistics video. It is a 50 caliber paintball marker, and we'll also be shooting the HDB68 and the HDR68, which is basically the HDR50's bigger brother. In terms of projectiles, again, we have 50 and 68 caliber. We'll be shooting these 50 caliber Devastators, which you've seen in Scott's video. They're basically a metal core projectile with this metal steel ball at the center of a plastic 3D printed jacket, if you will. There's all kinds of projectiles made for these guns nowadays. We have, for example, rubber steel balls. They're very powerful little things. They'll pretty much break anything that is in their path. As well as these, for example, these are PVC steel balls. Very strong. You have more of a homemade type of projectile, like these D-shaped They're called they're made by a company called Jaw Droppers. Also, these guys are made with metal and plastic. So for those of you who are new to these type of weapons, Umarex has called them, has basically called the line Home Defense. So this is the HDR 68, which stands for Home Defense Revolver 68 caliber. I do not want to get into the merit of all that. I know that there's a lot of people out there who are very much against this type of terminology. However, that is what Umarex calls them. That is what is written on the box when you buy one of these. Umarex also sells these guns at a different power level, if you will. So you can buy the same marker again at with different powers, depending also on which country you're in, on what your local laws and regulations are. It is important to note that all my markers have been modified, which you can do once you purchase your gun. You can kind of open them up, and there's various things you can do, remove restrictors. There's a whole variety of modifications you can do to make these guns even more powerful. All right, so our first round of eggplants has been lined up. We're gonna start with the HDR 50. We're gonna shoot these 50 caliber rubber steel balls, which we're gonna load up right away. Now in here, there is a CO2 cartridge, which stays unarmed, stays unpunctured until it is ready for use. So basically, you can actually keep this in a drawer for days, months, years. Nothing will happen to it. But once it is ready to be used, all you do is hit this really hard, which will puncture the CO2 cartridge, which will obviously then be ready, make the gun ready to shoot. All right, first eggplant down. The HDR 50 will obviously be the least exciting, visually speaking, given that it is a much smaller caliber and is also a weaker gun. However, we have our first victim. It's time to finally obliterate some eggplant. For that, we will use the HDR 68. We're gonna use the same type of projectiles I just used with the HDR 50, only 68 caliber version. These are rubber steel balls. Again, to make it ready to shoot, we need to pierce the CO2 valve, and we'll see a little red pin come out of here, which will indicate to us that it is ready to shoot. Ladies and gentlemen, the HDR 68. So for the remaining eggplants, Scott, don't worry, we're gonna give them what they deserve. And for that, we're gonna use this HDB 68 shotgun. It shoots 16 rounds, and we're gonna use these nylon balls. They're very, very light. Again, they're just made out of nylon. And let's try and obliterate the remaining eggplants. All right, folks. Well, the whole purpose of this video, once again, was to eliminate as many eggplants as possible as a personal favor to Scott from Kentucky Ballistics. So I think we did just that. There was absolutely no scientific point to this video. For those who are watching my channel for the first time, please do realize that again, there was no scientific purpose, that all my other videos usually do have a meaning to them, where I'm usually reviewing a projectile, a new gun, or a new accessory. So please do go check out my other videos before you judge me too fast. That said, I had promised this week to do a review on the XM4 mount for the HDR50. However, the maker asked me to hold on a second, given that he's not ready yet for the full production. So that will be coming next week, along with a review on this easy shoot scope. Again, it will be my first time using one of these. So if you do have any questions beforehand, do let me know so we can kind of see together. Otherwise I'll be reviewing it next week. Again, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for subscribing to the channel if you haven't done so, and thank you so much for clicking that like button if you did indeed like the video. I will see you next week.